This NFL Week 17 pregame show edition of the NFL Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Hall of Fame Bets, the sports betting research platform for parlays, player props, and game lines. Download the Hall of Fame Bets app or visit HOFBets.com and use promo code SGPN to get 50% off your first month and start making smarter bets today. We're also brought to you by SGPN's Ultimate New Year's Eve Party. Hop on Sports Gambling Podcast YouTube channel for a truly DJ afternoon complete with draft picks, with drafts, pick'ems, prizes, live sweats, and more. The fun starts at 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on New Year's Eve. Welcome, everyone, to the NFL Gambling Podcast, part of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is Sunday, week 17, December 31st, currently 10:02 on the East Coast. A little under 3 hours away from kickoff. And joining me on this pregame show to get through the latest injury news, to give out our player props for every single game on the Sunday card, is my main man, Lante Smith. Lante, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. Last show of 2023, so hopefully we can end it with some positivity and some money in the listeners' pockets and ours too as well.
Yeah, 100%, man. Last day of the year. Can't believe we're already going to be turning the page tomorrow to the 2024 year, but a lot to play for here on Sunday for some of these teams, and we have a full schedule to get through here, Lante. So let's just dive right into it, my man. First game we'll go over to kick things off here is going to be the AFC battle between the Miami Dolphins and the Baltimore Ravens. Ravens currently sitting as a 3-point favorite in this game with a total of 46.5, minus 155 on the money line for the Ravens, plus 130 for the Miami Dolphins. Looking at the injury news in this game here, let me go over to another page. Let's see here. So I saw a lot of injury news that did come out overnight for a lot of these games here. So I am gonna go. Let's see here. The big news in this game, obviously, started here with the Miami Dolphins, is Jalen Waddle going to be playing in this game, who is dealing with a injury to his ankle. Give me 1 second. This page is taking forever to load. All right, here we go. All right, so for the Miami Dolphins, Raheem Mostert is going to be out for this game. He's dealing with a knee and ankle injury, so he is out. Jalen Ramsey, cornerback, is listed as questionable with a knee injury as well. Xavier Howard, hip, is listed as questionable as well. Jalen Waddle has been ruled out for this game, so it is going to be the Tyreek Hill show for the Miami Dolphins. For the Baltimore Ravens, Zay Flowers is in line to play Sunday against the Dolphins, and then that is pretty much a significant injury. Kyle Hamilton, safety, knee, is listed as questionable ahead of the game against the Dolphins here as well. So significant injuries for the Miami Dolphins here. Lante, what are you looking at for player props?
Yeah, I'm looking at Devon A-Chain over 23.5 receiving yards. I don't hate his rushing plus receiving yards if you want to go there, but without Waddle, I think he'll be utilized more in the passing game. He's over this number in 3 of his last 4 plus receptions in those 3 games as well. If you look at some of what the running backs have done versus Baltimore's defense, not much running the ball, but receiving. CMC 6 for 28, Travis Etienne 4 for 28, Eckler 5 for 32, Mixon 5 for 31. So I think he fits that type of mold of those kind of backs who are kind of versatile, can run the ball and catch it out of the backfield. So I like A-Chain over 23.5 receiving yards. But without Mostert, I wouldn't hate, adding the rush yards to it because their running game is so complex. I think it'll be able to have some success. And they'll have to run the ball if they want to, take those deep shots to Tyreek. So, yeah, I like A-Chain over 23.5 receiving yards. That's the only one I have.
Yeah, I want to look at Tyreek Hill here right now. He's also battling the ankle injury himself. It may be a little bit of Cedric Willis, or maybe it might be Braxton Berrios in this game. Tyreek Hill is at 94.5. And again, we've talked about that. Sometimes it just takes him 2 or 3 catches to get over this number of 94.5 receiving yards. So I was looking at him. But that was pretty much it for this game. There's a lot of uncertainty for the Dolphins
Yeah,
side for
I
me
agree.
to
Yeah.
get behind any player props in this game. All right, Lance, let's get over
Yep.
to the next game on the schedule here. We'll go over to the game between the San Francisco 49ers. They are taking on the Commanders here. The San Francisco 49ers are a 14-point road favorite here, total of 49.5. Looking at the injury report here for the San Francisco 49ers, they are going to be without Jalen Moore, guard. He is in concussion, and Danny Gray, wide receiver, has been downgraded to out. Jordan Mason, running back, is listed with an illness. He is questionable for this game. Jawan Jennings' concussion has been ruled out as well. Arik Armstead is out as well. We did see Trent Williams leave the game last week against I believe it was the Ravens last week, for the 49ers, but he is going to be playing in this game. But everybody else, the main weapons on the offensive side of this San Francisco 49ers attack is going to be playing in this game. For the Washington Commanders, it's still a question mark on who is going to be playing at the quarterback position because Jacoby Brissett, as of last night, doesn't appear to likely play in this game, but they are going to reevaluate him on during pregame warmup and make a decision there. But it seems like it's trending towards Sam Howell being the starting quarterback for the Washington Commanders in this game. Our guy Chris Rodriguez Jr. Was put on the IR here, Lante. He is dealing with an ankle injury, and that is pretty much it, my man. What are you looking at as far as player props in this game?
Yeah, if it is Brissett, I like it even more. But even with how I still like it, Curtis Samuel over 38 and no, what is this, 8.5? What do you see
For
on
who?
Curtis Samuel? Curtis Samuel, 38.5 is what I see.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So he's over in three of his last four. San Francisco has trouble defending the slot. If you watched the game last week, you see Zay Flowers was going crazy on them. I think that it'll be a high volume game, kind of get the ball out quick. Curtis Samuel is the prime candidate for in the slot for Sam Howell or Brissett to get the ball off quicker. So I like it either way. I like it even more if it's Brissett. The other side, I'm going with Brock Purdy over 263.5 passing yards. I think it's a big bounce back spot for him. He played probably his worst game as a pro last week. Got banged up with his finger. Listening to like Shanahan and some of those other guys talk, I think he could have went in, but kind of wanted to just limit his exposure to any more injury. So I think it's a big bounce back spot for him. He's over in 6 of his last 9. He, like I said, he would have went over last week. I think he finished with 256, if I'm not mistaken. So he would have went over if he went back into the game. Washington pass defense atrocious, 31st versus the pass. I think Brock Purdy has a field day throwing the ball.
I think that this Brock Purdy passing prop might be my like play of the year, quote unquote,
Right.
because for everything that you just mentioned there, I mean, this might be a 2 or 3 unit play for me here. I mean, we've talked a lot about Lante about how bad the secondary has been for the Washington Commanders, right? And I think that this might be a game where I'm going to be looking at Brock Purdy over on his um, passing yards, over on his passing touchdowns. That's at 2.5. It's at plus 170, man. I think that's a lot of value there for Brock Purdy in this game. Now it's up to plus 185 in some spots. So I would not be surprised if he has this in the first half because I just feel like this is going to be a game where Brock Purdy and the offense is going to be on full display here. And let me just make sure the weather isn't going to be too bad because we are in the month of December here, obviously, and we know, especially on the East Coast, is where colder temperatures and sometimes snow is a factor. But at least for this game, it's going to be 51 degrees, partly cloudy, so it's beautiful football weather in this game. Also looking at Christian McCaffrey over on his receiving yards. It's at 31.5. And you kind of take a look at what running backs have been able to do, at least through the air against his Commanders team. Let me see if I'm trying to pull up the game log here. So last week we saw Brees Hall have an absolutely historic or a career high, I should say, for himself. 12 receptions, 96 yards. We go back to the Dolphins game. You mentioned Achan. 3 receptions, 30 yards in that game. Tony Pollard, 6 for 24. Saquon Barkley, 4 for 57. Kenneth Walker had one reception that took it to the house for 64 yards. So, I mean, we already know that Christian McCaffrey is more than capable of doing that. So, all over the Brock Purdy props here over on his passing yards. Longest completion to go over in this game here as well. That number is at 40 and a half at minus 130. So again, don't be surprised if you see Debo Samuel catch one for, a deep pass, Brandon Ayuk as well. So all over Brock Purdy in this game here. Anything else for this game here, Lante?
No, that's it.
All right, let's get over to the next game on the schedule here. We'll go over to the Arizona Cardinals. They are in Philly to take on the Eagles. Eagles currently sitting as a 12.5 point favorite in this game with a total of 47.5. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams here, let's start with the Arizona Cardinals. Um, Kyler Murray is dealing with an illness, but he is in line to play in this game against the Philadelphia Eagles. And that is pretty much it as far as significant injuries. For the Eagles, let's see here. On their injury report, Zach Cunningham, linebacker, has been downgraded to doubtful. He's dealing with a knee injury. Darius Slay has already been ruled out for this game as well. N'Kobe Dean was placed on the IR back on November 16th. They were looking to activate him, but he is not going to be returning anytime soon. That's pretty much it. So pretty healthy squads, I guess we can say. Only news is Darius Slay for the Eagles. Lonzo, what do you got for this game?
Yeah, so I got two on each side, both running backs. I'm gonna go with Swift over 68.5 rushing yards. Probably a good ladder opportunity with Arizona's defense ranking 32nd in rushing yards allowed. He's over this number in back-to-back games. He's also had 18 plus carries in those games, so he's getting a lot of volume. If you filter out like when he's actually getting touches, when he sees 15 plus carries, he's over the number in 5 of the 8 games. So I think this is a good opportunity for them to run the ball. Not sure how much they'll run the ball with Jalen, so I think they'll rely more on Swift out of the backfield. So I like him over 68.5 rushing yards. I wouldn't hate to play him up to 100 if you want to just, quarter unit or however you want to monetize that. But I do like Swift a lot in this game. On the other side, I got this from our friend Adam Rosenberg. Over 2.5 receptions for James Conner. He's over in 3 of his last 5. He's at 13 targets in his last 4 games. Game script should call for a little bit more passing. We all know that front of Philadelphia is ferocious, so Kyle is likely to get the ball out quick. James Conner, prime candidate to catch a few dump offs. So I can see him going 3 or 4 receptions for 25, 30 yards here. So I like both running backs in this matchup. One with James Conner receptions, the other Swift over 68.5 rushing yards.
Yeah, kind of correlated here about what you like with DeAndre Swift. I love his attempts to go over in this game,
Yeah,
15 and
yeah,
a half. I mean,
yeah.
you take a look at what has transpired this season for the teams against the Cardinals. Every single team this season they have faced, except for one, which was back in week 2, the Giants, have rushed for at least 23 attempts against this Cardinals rush defense. So I expect a heavy dose of DeAndre Swift in this game. I like his over, like you mentioned, on his rushing yards as well. And again, you kind of just look at the numbers here. I'm probably going to get there with you on his rushing yards as well. But going back to week 10, Bijan Robinson, 22 for 95. Week 11 against my Texans, Devin Singletary, 22 for 112. Kyron Williams, 16 for 143. Against the Steelers, Najee Harris had 16 for 63, and Jalen Warren had 9 for 59. Christian McCaffrey 2 weeks ago, 18 for 115. And then just last week, Khalil Herbert, 20 for 117. So I think Jarvis Swift is in line for a huge night. A huge day here against the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray on the other side, I think I do like his rushing yards as well. We know how good the Eagles' pass rush is, and I know they've fallen off a little bit where they haven't been able to apply or get a lot of pressure over the past couple of weeks here. But I think that for Kyler Murray, he's a guy that he's going to take off when he can, right? And if you take a look, that first game where he returned against, I believe it was the Falcons, if I'm not mistaken, when he came back from the ACL injury. But I was expecting him not to run around like he did in that game, but he still had 6 attempts, 33 yards in that game. Last 2 weeks, he's had 49 rushing yards, and then 32 last week against the Chicago Bears. Trying to see the updated number because I did get this at 27.5 for Kyler Murray, it's still at 27.5. Oh, it just went to 28.5 as soon as we're talking about it
Hey,
here.
chat banging it up, man.
I know, man. And then his attempts are at 5.5, but I think I'm more comfortable with that 28.5 now for Kyler Murray. You got anything else for this game?
No, but I agree with that though. I agree with your assessment on Kyler.
Yep. All right. Let's get over to the next game on the board here. We'll go to your team, man. They are hosting the Rams here. With the Rams a 6-point favorite in the Meadowlands here, a total of 43.5. Looking at the injury report here for this game, let's go over to the Rams side. For the Los Angeles Rams, I am seeing a pretty clean injury report. Puka Nacua did miss Friday's practice with a hip injury and is listed as questionable for Sunday's game. But Coach Sean McVay said the wide receiver is still expected to play in this game against the Giants. Ernest Jones, linebacker, is questionable with an illness. Trey Tomlinson, cornerback, is dealing with a hamstring for the Rams. He is listed as out. And Jackson, offensive tackle, is listed as questionable for this game due to a thigh injury. For the New York Giants, we will see Tyrod Taylor at the starting quarterback position for this Giants team. As far as other injury news for this team, Evan Neal will undergo surgery on his fractured ankle. He was placed on the IR. Wan'Dale Robinson, quad injury, is listed as questionable in this game. And Dante Banks, quarterback, is questionable for this game with a shoulder injury. Lante, any player props for this game?
Yeah, I got two, one on each side. Start with the Ram side. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Kyron Williams over 24.5 rushing yards. He's at 100 plus in 5 of his last 6, including 3 straight. The Giants 29 in rushing yards allowed. I think he runs all over. He had a pretty down game for like 2.5, 3 quarters, and he kind of exploded last week against I forgot who they played, but yeah, Kyron Williams just kind of exploded. And I think he ended up like 115, 120. So I like Kyron Williams to go over that number. If you want to ladder up, I think he can have a big day, like 120 plus against the Giants front. On the other side, with Tyrod Taylor being back, he good chemistry with Darren Waller. So I'm going over 38.5 receiving yards. The Rams 24 DVOA versus tight ends. Waller's over in back-to-back games since he's returned from his injury. If you want to filter it out to even more before the injury, over in 5 of his last 6. I think he's just a big target over the middle. He can split out, play all over the field. I think it's a good, easy, nice size target for Tyrod to get the ball out to. Not really worried about the pass rush as much, but I think quick passes will be able to get the ball to Darren Waller with Tyrod Taylor getting it out quick. And he's pretty precise and smart with his passes. So I think they'll find ways to get Waller involved. So I like him over 38.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I like what you mentioned with Kyron Williams. I do like his attempts to go over. I think that number was at
I like that,
18.5.
yeah.
Let me see here. Rushing props. His number for his rush attempts, 19.5 now. But again, like we've mentioned, he's had at least 20 rushing attempts over the last 5 weeks.
Yep.
Sorry, 4 weeks. 21 attempts, 25, 27, 22. And then again, you're going back against a Giants rush defense that has also been, giving it up. Not as bad as the Cardinals, but I think that, the attempts are definitely going to be there for Kyron Williams in this game. We take a look at what the running backs have done against the Giants since week 9, 32 attempts by the Raiders, 28 by the Cowboys, 25 by the Commanders, 30 by the Patriots, 19 by the Packers, 24 and 27 over the last 2 weeks by the Saints and the Philadelphia Eagles. So I think he's in line for a big game here as well. Puka Nacua is 147 yards away from breaking the rookie record for receiving yards. So I do expect him to, feast in this game at least or have a big game. His receiving yards number is at, let's see here. Where is Puka Nacua? 69.5. So, I think you could probably speak on this more than I can here, Lante, but how's the secondary here for the Giants?
Well, banged up right now with Banks out. I don't think they play a lot of man, so it's good for those receptions for Puka and Cup. I think a lot of people I respect who like Cup over 5.5 receptions. But the thing is, I kind of like I'm not really on board, but I'm not off board. It's just because the game script, I'm assuming, is going to be more so they'll have more success running the ball. So I don't know if they'll, try to drop back Stafford 30, 35 times a game when they can just give the ball to, Kyron Williams 25. Maybe
Yeah.
I could see him getting 25 to 28 carries here and still have some success and only passing, when they need to. But again, I mean, the Giants they've been okay with Tyrod when he gets in. Got a lot more energy. He's also going to be a little bit more spry with the ball. He's going to be he knows Dayball's system. So yeah, I'm kind of torn between that. But secondary wise, I mean, I think that they can be had because it's a lot of man to man. There's a lot of blitzing, so one home run ball. Wick is going to blitz. It's not really a if, it's a win. He's going to blitz, and that he could be susceptible to those short tunnel screens going to the house on either side with Cup or Puka. So I don't hate it. I'm just not on board because I don't know if the game script is going to call for it.
All right. Anything else for this game?
No, that's it.
All right, let's get over to the next game of the afternoon. We'll go over to the New England Patriots. They are in what's it called? Orchard Park, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep, Orchard Park.
With the Buffalo Bills. Bills laying 2 touchdowns in this game against the Patriots with a total of 43.5. Taking a look at the injury report here, the updated one. Let's start here with the New England Patriots. I did see that Juju Smith-Schuster was put on the IR for the rest of the season, dealing with the ankle injury. Jabril Peppers is also going to be out for this game. Safety, he is in with a hamstring injury. And that is pretty much it for the Patriots. For the Bills, let's see. Damar Hamlin is questionable for this game. Jordan Phillips was placed on the IR on last week. AJ Ebenezer is questionable for this game with a ribs injury, and Daquan Jones, defensive tackle, was activated off of the IR. He is officially listed as questionable, dealing with a pectoral injury. Big game here for the Bills, obviously, making the push not only for the playoffs, but also possibility for the division as well. But Blante, player props, what are you looking at?
Man, I have absolutely nothing in this game. I don't really know what to expect. I mean, I know it's a big game for the Bills, but I mean, I don't know what to expect from their offense. So I'm gonna pass on this one. Maybe you can put me on something.
I think the only thing that kind of sticks out to me is probably that Josh Allen has started to rush the ball a little bit more ever since they've kind of gotten on this winning streak here. So maybe if you want to look at his attempts to go over, I don't hate that. The yardage has kind of been a little inconsistent for me for Josh Allen, but I mean, his rushing yards for this game is set at 30.5. Maybe I'll probably look at his attempts because I'm still kind of soured where I had his rushing yards. I think this was back. Yeah, it's like 32.5. And then he took the knees at the end of the game and it ended with 32 and I got hooked on it. But his attempts are at 7.5. I don't hate that for him. I think James Cook, I think regresses this week because we know the Patriots are a pretty good rush defense, and I think that's going to have to be on the arm of Josh Allen to get it done here. So under on James Cook at 63.5 is a number I don't hate here for tonight, this afternoon for the Buffalo Bills. Other than that, nothing really else stuck out to me for this game. Let's go to the next game here, Lante. We have the battle of the NFC South. We got the Saints. They are visiting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in this game. The Bucs are sitting as a 2.5-point home favorite here, with a total of 42 now. Looking at the injury report for both of these teams, let's start with the Saints here. For the New Orleans Saints, Kendre Miller, running back, remains listed as questionable, but is not expected to play Sunday against the Buccaneers. Alvin Kamara is dealing with illness, but he is slated to play in this game against the Bucs. And that is pretty much. And Ryan Ramczyk, offensive tackle, was put on the IR with a knee injury on Saturday, so he's going to be out for this game as well. Marshawn Lattimore is not going to be playing this game here as well. I know him and Mike Evans have been, I don't want to say beefing, but have a little
nice rivalry.
Yeah, rivalry. I think that's the correct
Yeah,
word for the past
yeah.
several seasons. So, but Marshawn Lattimore will be out for this game against the Buccaneers in this game. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on their injury report, Shaquille Barrett, linebacker, is out for this game. Carlton Davis III is going to be out for this game as well. Raheem, I'm sorry, Jared, wide receiver. He's dealing with a quadriceps injury. He's going to be out for this game here as well. Lante, what do you like for this game as far as player props?
Yeah, I like two that I think are pretty much correlated. One is disgusting, so I don't mind you if you don't want to bet it. I'm going Derek Carr over 247 passing yards, simply because I mean games should call for it either way for him to dink and dunk his way down the field. Tampa Bay 32nd versus the pass, really good versus the rush, 7th overall. So I'm not sure how much success they'll have running the ball. And I'll parlay that with Alvin Kamara over 38 and a half receiving yards. Like I said, I think it's correlated. A lot of dump downs to him. I don't hate the receptions as well. If you want to go there, he's over this number in 3 of his last 5. He's had 5+ receptions in 4 of his last 6. So I think even if Tampa, I mean, I know a lot of sharp people who are on New Orleans. So I think they might have a shot to win it. But just in case they kind of go in a little bit lethargic, fall behind, I think the Carr have to throw the ball, and what better place to throw it than a check down to Alvin Kamara, because I don't think they'll be able to have rushing success. So give me Derek Carr over 247.5 passing yards, Alvin Kamara over 38.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I think the theme is going to continue for me this week, where I've just been fading this Buck secondary. I mean, I'm not going to go through the entire game log of what has transpired for this Buck secondary, but just over the past couple of weeks here, we talked about Jonathan Kamingo couple of weeks back. He had a breakout game, 6 for 69 yards. That I remember that week, his receiving yard prop was at 26.5. But over the last 3 weeks here, Drake London 10 for 172 against the Bucks. Back week 15, Jaden Reed 6 for 52. Dontavion Wicks 6 for 97 in that game. And then last week, Calvin Ridley 6 for 90. So I'm looking at Chris Olave this week to go over his receiving yards prop. That number is at 70.5. You want to ladder this up. I think he has a big game here for the New Orleans Saints offense. That number is actually down to 67.5, so I like it even more. But over 3 out of the last 4 weeks, Chris Olave has had at least 100 receiving yards. For the last 5 weeks, he's gone over this projection here as well. He's played the Buccaneers, I believe, 3 times in his career. Last season, he had a game of 80 receiving yards and 65. He had a dud of a game earlier this season where he only had 6 targets, 1 reception for 4 yards. But again, I think this is a good bounce back spot here for Chris Olave in this game. So I'll take Olave over 67.5 receiving yards. I also do like your call about Alvin Kamara. So I think those are going to be the 2 guys I believe that feast against this Buccaneers lack there of pass defense. On the Bucs side, if you want to take a look at Baker, this is the time of year we kind of start looking at those contract incentives and what guys kind of need.
Yeah.
So Baker, I think, is outside in one category. That he has I think a bonus that triggers that if he finishes top 10 in a lot of the passing categories. I think the one that he's number 12 in right now, I believe, is total passing yards. I think that if he does get into top 10 there, he does trigger another bonus. Again, Baker Mayfield is also playing for another contract, right? Whether it's going to be with the Buccaneers or whether it's going to be somewhere else as a starter or a backup. But I do like Baker to get over his passing yards in this game. This low key could turn into a little bit of shootout. I know it is a division game, and typically, those are lower scoring games, but I do think that this could definitely get over the total in this game here. And Baker Mayfield's at 237.5 in this game. So those are the couple looks I did have in this game. Anything else for this game here, Lante?
That's all I have.
All right, next game on the board here. Let's go over to my part of the town. We got the Houston Texans. They are hosting division rival, the Tennessee Titans. Currently, the Texans are a 4-point favorite in this game with a total of 44. Looking at the injury report here for the road team, the Tennessee Titans, they are going to be pretty clean here. Josh Wild, tight end, was placed on the IR. And that is pretty much it for the Texans. Sorry, for the Titans here. For the Texans, CJ Stroud is going to be the starting quarterback after missing the last 2 weeks, being in concussion protocol. Sheldon Rankins, defensive tackle, is listed as questionable as well. Will Anderson is also listed as questionable with an ankle injury. Steven Nelson, cornerback, is dealing with a foot, hand, and hamstring injury, so he's listed as questionable as well. But other than that, Nico Collins, like I mentioned, CJ Stroud are all good to go in this game here. Lonte, any player props you like in this game?
Yeah, I'm going to start off with the Tennessee side. I'm going to go Tajay Spears over 50.5 rushing and receiving yards. Snaps have increased throughout the season. He's at 7+ rushes in the last 4. Also has 4+ receptions in 3 of those 4 games. He's over this number in 3 of the last 4. 37 versus Houston in the previous meeting. I think Houston kind of struggles with the quickness of him out of the backfield. So I like him to go over 50.5 rushing and receiving yards. I think that they'll use him more so on second down than third because it's kind of a giveaway if he comes in on third down. Obviously, more of a passing down. So they kind of want to keep that limited and keep the Houston defense guessing. So I'm gonna go Tajay Spears over 50.5 rushing and receiving yards. And let me ask you, what's up with this? Every sharp person I know is on Noah Brown. Is it something going on? Like it went from 56.5 to like 64.5.
So I think number one, it's because I think that CJ Stroud is back
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I
at
get
the
that.
starting quarterback position, but also we're
Mhm.
very thin at that quarterback, or sorry, the wide receiver position right now because we mentioned Tank Dell has been out, and then it's pretty much Nico Collins, and it's going
Right,
to be Noah Brown. And Noah
right.
Brown, he's been stepping up in a big way in the absence of those. When Nico Collins was out, and obviously when Tank Dell was out, because
Mhm.
between Noah Brown and Tank Dell, I don't know how many games they've actually played together because if you remember early in the season that when Noah Brown was out for about 4 to 5 games,
Yeah.
that's when Tank Dell really flourished. And
Mhm.
Tank Dell has been missing the last several games, obviously with the injury, the season-ending injury, and now Noah Brown is pretty much that number 2 wide receiver for this team. So when you take a look at the numbers last week, 7 targets, only turned into 3 receptions for 38 yards. But prior against the Titans, he had 8 receptions, 11 targets, 82 yards. But again, last 2 weeks, it was a Case Keenum show. But now you have CJ
Yeah.
Stroud back,
Right.
obviously. So expect those 2 guys, or at least Noah Brown, I think, to have a big game here as well.
Yeah, I like Nico Collins. I mean, I know a lot of people like Noah Brown. I like Nico Collins to go over 63.5. I think he started at 56.5 as well. I think both might have just, been bumped up, like you said, because the Stroud news officially and ruled in. But I think it's a great
Yeah,
spot for both receivers. Don't get me wrong. Nico's the one that struggled without Stroud. 5 receptions for 31 yards in the 2 games he missed.
yeah.
If you look at it, it can go both ways. Tennessee allows fifth most receiving yards to wide receivers. So I guess that's a feather in the cap for both receivers. They also are 31st for the deep ball and wide receiver ones. I don't know who is the wide receiver. I think it's more so wide receiver 1A, 1B combo with Collins and Brown. But either way, Tennessee's secondary is not good at all. And I think both of these wide receivers can have success. I'm gonna go with Nico Collins. I probably put something small on Noah Brown as well, but I think both guys flourish with CJ Stroud back.
Looking at DeAndre Hopkins, obviously, this is his first trip back to Houston
I didn't even think about that.
against the
Okay.
Texans. So possibly wants to put on a show. And again, Titans do have a little bit of revenge on their mind after the Texans win into Tennessee a couple of weeks ago and stole the victory there in overtime. I know they've officially been eliminated from the playoff contention, have the Titans, but they definitely want to play spoiler against the Texans. So DeAndre Hopkins, I believe I got it at 58.5. Let me check the updated number here for him. Yeah, it's up to 60.5, but I still think that this might be a big game for
Mhm.
DeAndre Hopkins being back in Houston for the first time this or since the trade to Arizona, and then obviously now with the Tennessee Titans. So I do like that as well. Like you call about Tajay Spears, I looked at the snap count numbers, and for Derrick Henry, they've been trending towards
Yeah.
going down since week
Mhm.
13. 40%, 48%, 54%, and 48%. Meanwhile, for Tajay Spears, 67%, 66%, 52%. And he did have 5 more snap counts last week. Did Tajay Spears over Derrick Henry. So I do like that for this game. For Tajay Spears than Derrick Henry. I know talked a lot about Derrick Henry having historical numbers against his Texan team, but that last game he had 16 rush attempts for 9 yards. So I
Right.
guess,
Right.
obviously, number one, that's the much improved rush defense for the Texans with D'Amico Ryans as the head coach. Um, So don't no Derrick Henry for me this week at least. Lonzo, you got anything else for this game?
No, that's it.
All right, let's get over to the next game on the board here. We'll go over to let's go over to the Colts. They are hosting the Raiders in this game. Raiders currently are catching 4 points in this game on the road, with a total of 42 in this game. Looking at the injury report here for both of these teams, start here with the Las Vegas Raiders. On their injury report, Michael Mayer is going to be ruled out for this game. He's dealing with a toe injury. Josh Jacobs is listed as doubtful. He didn't practice on Friday. He's dealing with the quadriceps injury, but is viewed as a true game time decision. But officially, right now, is listed as doubtful. For the home team, the Indianapolis Colts. For the Colts, Michael Pittman Jr. is slated to play in this game against the Raiders. He was in concussion protocol and also dealing with a shoulder injury. And that is pretty much it as far as significant injuries. Zach Moss is going to be out for this game as well for the Colts. DJ Montgomery, wide receiver, is listed as questionable, and Kenny Moore, the second cornerback, is also listed as questionable for the Colts as well. Lance, you got any player props for this game?
Yeah, man, I'm gonna go to a guy who is from not too far where I'm at. I'm going with Zeus Zamir White over 17.5 rush attempts. We all know what Pearson wants to do. He puts emphasis on wanting to run football. Last week we saw him literally win a game, not passing the ball at all. So I think that continues here. Indy 28 versus the rush. Zeus has had 17 and 22 in his last two games without any Jacobs here. I think he sees the bulk of carries. If you look at some of the running backs and what they've done carries wise in the last handful of games versus Indy, see Mixon, Derrick Henry had 21 carries each. In that game, Tajay Spears had 16 carries, and he usually doesn't get that many carries. So that just goes to show you what they feel, what some offenses feel about the Indy rush defense. Ramondre Stevenson also had 20 versus that defense. So I think Zeus is in for a big game. I looked at the rush numbers. I don't hate the rush numbers. They could be correlated. I guess 18. I think he was at like 68. I guess 18 to 70 would be in line. But I'd much rather have the rush attempts because even in a neutral game script, I think that they'll be able to run the football and get him the ball. So I'm looking for him to get around 19, 20 rush attempts here.
I didn't have much for this game. Again, I get it. Colts home games have been shootouts. I think they're very profitable to the over this season, but this Raiders defense has just been playing at another level. Is this a week that they maybe regress a little bit? I'm not sure because we saw what they did last week against the Chiefs, but the Chiefs offense is not the Chiefs offense where they were just dominating over the past several years. I really didn't have much for this game, so I'll pass on this game. Anything else for this game?
That's it.
All right, next game on the board here. Let's go over to where do we want to go? Let's go over to the Carolina Panthers. They are in Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars for this game. Currently seeing the Jaguars as a 4-point favorite hosting the Panthers. Total of 37.5 in this game. Looking at the injury report here, let's start with the Carolina Panthers. They are going to have 4 questionable tags. So JC Horn is dealing with a toe injury. He's listed as questionable. And Frankie Luvu, linebacker, is dealing with a quadriceps injury. He's also listed as questionable. And that is pretty much it. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, Zay Jones, wide receiver, remains listed as questionable, but is not expected to play here on Sunday against the Panthers. Cam Robinson, offensive tackle, was activated for the off of the IR, I should say. He's also listed as questionable for this game against the Panthers. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence got news earlier this week that he is going to be out for this game. So it is going to be the CJ Beathard show, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to double check that because
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, he's listed as out. And that is pretty much it here, Lante. Any player props in this game you like?
Yeah, I'm going to go Bryce Young over 17.5 completions. Game script should call for more passes with the Jacksonville offense being 29th in passing yards allowed. They're over in 3. He's over this number in 3 of his last 5 and pretty much played from behind in all of those games. Now, whether he's playing from behind or not here, I think it still calls for a little bit more short pass game. I mean, obviously he's not going to kill anybody with the deep ball. He doesn't have anybody that can catch the deep ball like that. So I think we see a lot more over the middle check down plays like we've seen all year from him. I know Hubbard has been a beast, but Jacksonville's rush defense is pretty good. So I think they want to lean on the pass more versus going yardage. I'll go with completions because, if it is a blowout, he can kind of dink and dunk his way to, 20 completions. So I like Bryce over 17 and a half completions. And you talked about the Hopkins revenge game. I'm going with DJ Chark revenge game over 23 and a half receiving yards. He's over this number in 3 of his last 5. He had his best game of the season last week versus Green Bay, whose secondary is about the same as Jacksonville. Like I said, Jacksonville's 29th versus the pass. I think the Packers are maybe 30th. If you look at some of the like ancillary pieces to some of these to some of these teams, like I guess you would say wide receiver threes. Palmer had 4 for 42. Bateman had 3 for 39. Elijah Moore and David Bell both had 40 yards each. Taj Boyd had not Taj Boyd. Tyler Boyd had 37.
Taj Boyd. Ooh, that's a name.
Yeah, that's the quarterback for Clemson. Right color's wrong name. But yeah, so all of those guys who are pretty much third and fourth fiddle had success. And I think DJ Chark is probably like second or third on this roster as far as receiving. So I'm going with DJ Chark over 23 and a half receiving yards. I would ladder it up to like 50, 55. I think he has a good shot to get involved early and often against his former team.
Yeah, I love it. I love the Bryce Young call because that was one of my favorite bets last week, just because of game script as well, what you mentioned, right? Man, just let the guy go out there and throw the football. I don't care if you're up by 14 or if you're down by 14. Obviously, game script wise, if you're trailing, you're obviously going to throw the football, but you got to see what you got you got to see what you have in Bryce Young heading into next year. Obviously, I'm not going to blame Bryce Young for what's transpired. I feel like this is kind of, and I mentioned this before, it's almost the same script that what Trevor Lawrence has had in his career, that the first year he had, I guess bad head coaching and the lack of thereof weapons. And then I think that, they got a new head coach in there and they added some weapons around him. And he looked like a competent quarterback at that point, did Trevor Lawrence. I think, it feels like Bryce Young is on that same trajectory here as far as, what's going on with him in his rookie season. Obviously, you're not always going to be in the spotlight when you're the number 1 overall pick. People are going to be looking at you, but I probably want to get there with ETN receiving yards in this game.
I like that too.
I think CJ Beathard we'll see some dinking and dunking from him. If his first or second reads aren't there, and I think that, some easy passes to kind of get him going. You get out, like a swing pass to your wide receiver, or sorry, to your running back, or screen passes to a guy like that as well. So ETN's number right now is sitting at 20 and a half as far as receiving yards. I do like that. I like your call about DJ Chark. I think I'm going to get down on that one myself as well. You have anything else for this game?
No, that's it.
All right, let's get over to the next game of the day. We have let's go over to Chicago. They are hosting the Atlanta Falcons in this game. Bears currently sitting as a 3-point favorite against the Falcons. Looking at the injury report here for both of these teams. Let's start here with the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons are going to be without Keith Smith, their fullback. He was placed on the IR due to an ankle injury. Caleb McGarry, offensive tackle, is listed as questionable for this game for the Atlanta Falcons. For the Chicago Bears, let's see here. Cole Kmet is considered a true game time decision, but I did see that he is going to be playing in this game. Darnell Mooney has been ruled out. He's dealing with a concussion, and that is pretty much it. So I did see last night Cole Kmet is going to be playing in this game here, but Lante, player props in this game?
Yeah, so I'm liking both the same player. I'm going to Bijan under 46 and a half rushing yards because I just don't trust Arthur Smith to actually give him the ball. And also, this is strength on strength. Atlanta 6 in rushing yards per game versus Chicago, who's the best run defense in the league. Bijan's under this number in 2 of his last 3. I think it's going to be a heavy dose of running on each side. But I think Bijan will be more involved in the passing game, which is why I like him over 23 and a half receiving yards. He's over in 4 of his last 6. Bears 31st DVOA versus running back receptions. They're also allowing almost 60 yards on those receptions. So I think Bijan split them out, get Algier or Patterson in the backfield, and let him work in the slot on the short passes. I don't think they trust Heineke to throw deep. So I'm going with Bijan. Double dose of Bijan, Giddy under 46.5 rushing yards, over 23.5 receiving yards.
I didn't have much for this game. Justin Fields rushing yards, that's always obviously a play. It's just a matter of like who's going to be catching the football here for the Bears because
You never know.
it's yeah. I mean, with obviously no Darnell Mooney, I don't see Cole Kmet props listed. And how effective is he going to be if he does play out there? DJ Moore has really been struggling over the past several weeks as well, so it might just be a game where Justin Fields is just going to have to utilize his legs, and that running game is going to have to get going here against the Atlanta Falcons. So, obviously, don't hate Justin Fields rushing yards. That number is for Justin Fields 54.5. If you look at Khalil Herbert, he has at only 27.5. Roshan Johnson, 17.5. So a couple guys there. I think this is going to be a very, very, very heavy running attack here for the Bears.
Yeah.
So the Falcons side, Bijan has finally gotten a little bit more involved, at least through the air as well. I know last week I had, excuse me, Bijan catching the football out of the backfield. So maybe want to look at that as well. But other than that, I didn't really like this game at all. Anything else for this game, Lante?
That's it.
All right, next game on the board. Let's go over to the Steelers. They are in the Great Northwest to take on the Seahawks. Seahawks currently sitting as a 4-point favorite in this game, with a total right now of 40.5. Looking at the injury report here, let's start here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are going to be without safety, Trenton Thompson. He is dealing with a neck injury. Mika Fitzpatrick has also been ruled out for this game. He's dealing with a knee injury. Kenny Pickett is listed as questionable for this game, but I believe it is going to be Mason Rudolph starting at the quarterback position. For the Seattle Seahawks, on their injury report, Jamal Adams has been ruled out for this game. He was placed on the IR on Saturday. Jason Peters, offensive tackle. Yeah, probably. He's dealing with a foot injury. He is going to be out for this game. Mario Edwards Jr., defensive end, is also been ruled out. Devin Weatherspoon, cornerback, is hopeful he will play in this game, but it's saying it's a 60-40 chance. Jordan Brooks, linebacker, has also been ruled out for this game, and Dean Eskridge, wide receiver, has also been placed on the IR. He's dealing with a rib injury. Then, as of today, or early this morning, Kenneth Walker was a big questionable tag, but he is expected to suit up for the Seahawks in this game. So a lot of injuries there for the Seahawks, especially on the defensive side of the football here. Lante, what are you looking at as far as player props in this game?
Yeah, I didn't have much in this game. I do like Allen Robinson over 20.5 receiving yards. He's had 3+ receptions in 3 of his last 4 games. Him and Rudolph have pretty much a good chemistry. I don't know if you noticed, like he was going to him often, early and often. He was targeted 4 times, which is the most he's had since the middle of November versus Cleveland. He's over this number in 2 of his last 3 as well. So I think Allen Robinson has a pretty good day. I mean, 20.5 yards is pretty low for a guy seeing 4+ targets in the last few games. So I'm going Allen Robinson over 20.5 receiving yards.
I want to get behind Najee here, but man, every time I do, I just get burned by him. But at least since week 11, like the game plan for opposing teams against the Seahawks has been running the football.
Yeah.
Since week 11, when the Rams face the Seahawks, every team that has faced them since then has rushed the ball at least 20 times. And obviously, you do have a 2-headed monster with the Pittsburgh Steelers with Najee and Jaylen Warren. I think I may pivot and just take a look at Jaylen Warren because he's been my guy all season long, whether it's rushing and receiving yards or just going with his receiving yards here today. I know Mason Rudolph had a really good game last week for the Steelers, but you're there. Obviously, you're still in the playoff hunt. Are the Steelers, and you need to win this game. Actually, this is a big game for both teams here. So, Jaylen Warren receiving yards are at 24.5. I don't hate that. DK Metcalf, longest reception. I mean, that's automatic play for me every single week. That one gets to the window more times than not. So, Those are the couple I was looking at. Najee Harris rushing yards is at I think it was at 55 and a half. Last time I checked, let me see the updated number. Yeah, it's still at 55 and a half. Jalen Warren's at 36 and a half. So I think that those two guys are definitely in line to get the carries in this game against the Seahawks. Anything else for this game here, Lante?
Nah, I didn't have much.
All right. Got a YouTube comment asking if there's a YouTube. Yeah. You can go back on.
I sent the link in the.
Oh, you sent the link in there.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll show up, but I sent the link on the YouTube in the
Perfect.
chat.
All right. Let's get over to the next game here, Lante. Let's go over to the Cincinnati Bengals. They are visiting the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs are currently sitting as a 7-point favorite in this game with a total of 50. Sorry, not 50. 45 and a half. Looking at the injury report here for the let's start with the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously, we do have Jake Browning at the quarterback position. Jamar Chase was the big question mark for this game for the Bengals, but he is going to be playing in this game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Outside of those two names for the Cincinnati Bengals, let's see here. That is pretty much it. For the Kansas City Chiefs, get over to their page here. L'Jarius Sneed, cornerback, is a true game time decision. He is seen with a calf injury. Both of their running backs, CEH, are on the injury report. So CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, is dealing with an illness, but he's expected to play against the Bengals. And Isaiah Pacheco, who's dealing with a shoulder injury, he also was put in the concussion protocol, but he did pass concussion protocol and is expected to play in this game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Donovan Smith, offensive tackle, has also been ruled out with a neck injury, and Kadarius Toney has been ruled out with a hip injury. And we saw Jerick McKinnon was put on the IR on Christmas Eve with a groin injury for the Kansas City Chiefs. Monte, player props in this game, man. Anything you're looking at?
Yeah, I was gonna look at Chase. Did you see? I was curious to know if you saw his comments about the Chief secondary.
I saw. I didn't see the exact comments, but I did see kind of like some cliff notes.
Yeah. So I was gonna take him over because I think they could probably try to feed him the ball. And I just want to see if he only gave props to Snead. So I think if Snead is out, I think he does have a point with the corners. I think they're going to have an advantage and try to get him the ball. But I'm going to hold off for now because I don't know if Snead's going to play like you said, true game time decision. I'll pivot to the other side and go Mahomes over 269 and a half passing yards. Cincinnati in the secondary has been really bad, 25th in passing yards allowed. We saw Rudolph carve him up 290. Mullins had 303. Trevor had 258 before he was hurt. Pickett had 278 just in the last handful of games. I think Mahomes is in for a big day. Just need those receivers to catch the ball. I think you see a lot of Rashee Rice, a lot of Travis Kelce in this matchup. So give me Mahomes over 269 and a half passing yards.
Man, I want to get there with Mahomes, but this offense has just been so bad. Like who the hell is going to throw the football to is my first question. Obviously Travis Kelce, but I want to see him feed Rice more as well. I know he's had a couple of games there where he's been really good. But I mean, I think you mentioned is that the key here might be just that you're going up against the Bengals defense, and at that point, it's that the last 2 weeks where you had Nick Mullins throw for 303 yards, even Mason Rudolph threw for 290. Trevor Lawrence had 258, and then CJ Beathard came in and threw for 63. Even go back further when they played Kenny Pickett, he threw for 278. So, I mean, if there was ever a matchup, I think you're 100% correct, Lante, that this is the opportunity for Patrick Mahomes to, I guess, show that MVP form, I guess we can say. But Jamar Chase, like you mentioned, has had plenty of success against his Chiefs in the 2 regular season games, at least. This was back last season. 11 receptions on 12 targets, 266 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then earlier, that was in the playoff game, I believe. And then
December
4th, last season, 2022, 7 receptions on 8 targets, 97. And that number's at 57 and a half. And obviously, I know that it was Joe Burrow at the quarterback position, but Jake Browning has, I mean, we've seen it. We've seen him. He can make throws here. So this low key could possibly has the potential to turn into a shootout. But again, I think Mahomes has really been trending towards the under in his career in the month of December, at least. So I may get there with you with Mahomes. I think this there ever a game that for him to show out, I think this is definitely the opportunity. All right, a couple more games here, Lante, to get through. We'll go over to the West Coast. We got I was gonna say San Diego Chargers, the LA Chargers. They are in the Mile High City to take on the Broncos. Broncos currently sitting as a 3.5 point favorite in this game, with a total of 37 and a half, if I'm not mistaken, in this game. Yeah, 37 and a half. Let's get over to the injury report here for both of these teams. A very significant one here for the Chargers. Obviously, we know that Easton Stick is a starting quarterback for the Chargers. Keenan Allen has been ruled out for this game as well. Let's see here. A bunch of no names as far as not no names.
What about
But I
Josh
don't
Palmer?
know.
Is Josh Palmer in? I know he was on the injury report earlier in the.
So he's been ruled out with a
man.
concussion.
Jesus.
And that is pretty much it for the Denver Broncos. Obviously, we know about the quarterback change. It is going to be Jason Stidham. Cortland Sutton is in concussion protocol. He has been ruled out.
Lost my fantasy
Marvin,
league, man.
yeah, that's tough. Marvin Mims is dealing with a hamstring injury. He's listed as questionable, but is not expected to play. Jerry Jeudy was on the injury report as well. He's dealing with an illness, but he is slated to play in this game against the Chargers. So, what are you looking at as far as player props in this game here, Lante?
Man, I have absolutely nothing, no idea what to expect. I'm curious to see if you have anything, anybody in the chat has anything. Because this is like a murder. So you went through the injury report. It's not much there. I don't trust Quentin Johnston. I mean, Eckler would probably be the only guy you would want to trust on the Charger side for the Broncos. I mean, who do you trust? You don't know what to expect from, the backup quarterback, how well or how efficient he'll be. So I'm just going to stay away.
Yeah, I mean, so here's what I think is that if obviously we know why they made the quarterback change for the Denver Broncos, but I feel like that Sean Payton has such an ego that he's going to press it with Jason Stidham in this game. Or, sorry, Jared Stidham. I don't know why I'm saying Jason. Jared Stidham in this game. 194 and a half passing yards. Like, I kind of like the over, especially how bad, number one, this Chargers defense has been as well. But it kind of like I'm creating this narrative in my head. It's like, all right, it's not that the Denver Broncos is bad. It's just seeing that Russell Wilson was that bad because we didn't have success this season. I mean, there's a stretch where they did have that winning streak and they were on the brinks of at least being in the conversation to make the playoffs. But I kind of like Jared Stidham over passing yards. I know they don't have Cortland Sutton and Marvin Mims is injured as well, so it might just turn into a Jerry Jeudy game. But 194 and a half passing yards, I don't hate the over. I may just put like a quarter reunit on it just for shits and giggles. But I'm with you.
Didn't Shannon Ryan like Easton Stick this week?
I think this liked him to find the end zone.
Rushing yards?
Yeah, rushing yards has always been a thing for him. I think last week he also scored the first touchdown as well. Did Easton Stick. So let me see what his rushing yards number have been this season. So last week he had 25 against the Buffalo Bills. The week prior against the Raiders, he had 2 for 11. So he may be in line to run the football. Excuse me, a little bit in this game. Anything else for this game?
Nah, man. Like Lane just said in the chat, we really dumpster diving with trying to find something in this game out of nothing. But
100%.
I don't have.
All right. Last game of the night is going to be the Sunday night football game. We got the Packers. They are visiting the Vikings. Excuse me. I think the Vikings are a 1-point favorite in this game, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah. Totals is sitting at 43 in this game. Let's go to the injury report for both of these teams. For the let me start here with the Green Bay Packers. So Packers, we know we talked a lot about over the past several weeks that they were dealing with a lot of injuries in the secondary. I don't know if you saw the story with Jair Alexander where he
Yeah.
wasn't deemed a captain, but he was just out there and
Yeah.
even called a coin toss. So he's not going to be playing in this game. He's dealing with a
Yeah.
suspension. Um, so they're still dealing with injuries on the secondary. Now, Eric Stokes was put on the IR. I know he has missed the past several weeks as well. Darnell Savage is dealing with a shoulder injury. He is questionable for this game. Devondre Campbell, linebacker, is doubtful for this game. Luke Musgrave was activated off the IR, but he is listed as doubtful. Christian Watson is doubtful as well. And Dontavion Wicks, wide receiver, is also doubtful, or sorry, isn't likely to play in this game. He's dealing with a chest and ankle injury. So it might just be the Aaron Jones and the um, AJ Dillon show for the Green Bay Packers in this game. For the Minnesota Vikings, it is going to be Jaron Hall who's going to be the starting running back, starting a quarterback for this game here for the Minnesota Vikings. The only other significant name is Jordan Addison. He left that last week with an ankle injury, but he is available to play in the Sunday night football game against the Green Bay Packers. Outside of that, it's just a whole bunch of injuries on the defensive side of the football for the Minnesota Vikings. But Lonte, player props in this game, anything you like?
Man, I like Jaron Hall's rushing yards. Do you see an updated number? I know it's kind of been all over the place. I don't want to give out a stale number.
Let me see here.
I like it laddered
Rushing.
up as well. So just wanna.
Yeah, I think this might be the ladder of the week. Jaron Hall is at 27 and a half.
Yeah, I like that over. I mean, we didn't really see. I think we saw one drive of him before he got knocked out with that concussion. Forgot who they were playing against, but
I think it was the
uh,
Falcons, wasn't it?
it might have, yeah, it probably was because I remember I lost a lot of money on that game. Yeah, so yeah, it was the Falcons. It was the Falcons. So I like him over that number. If you want to ladder it up, I think he gets to 50 plus. Should be a run heavy approach game plan. I think he's gonna be, O'Connell doesn't like turnovers. He makes it abundantly clear that he doesn't like them. So I think Jaron Hall will be able to use his legs. You know who Jaron Hall's number one receiver was in college?
No.
Puka Nacua.
Ooh.
Yeah, he had Nakua and Algier, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Tyler Archer. Yeah.
Yeah, I
If you
think he
would have
had
said
both of
running
them.
back, I would have gone that, but
Yeah,
I didn't know about
they
the wide
were
receiver.
really good a few years back when Jaron Hall was there. He was talked about as being like a first round draft pick, like his junior year, and I think he had a bad senior year. Puka got hurt. Some of those other guys that got hurt, but yeah, I like Jaron Hall over. I also like Ty Chandler, another North Carolina guy, over 63.5 rushing yards. Like I said, it should be a run heavy game plan. Limit the exposure to Hall, throw the ball, turnovers. Green Bay 30th versus the run. When Chandler sees touches, he produces. When he's given 10 plus touches, small sample size, only 4 games, he's averaging 71.3 yards, rushing yards per game. You just tell from his running style. He runs hard. He's effective. He knows how to cut. He's a north-south runner. Doesn't try to get east-west. He was like that in college as well. So I think he has a big day. I think he goes over this number 64.5. I have one more. Tucker Kraft over 39.5 receiving yards. He's over this number in 3 straight, 4 plus receptions in each of those. He's at 16 targets in that 3-game span. Similar tight end, I think that they saw last week was Tanner Hudson for Cincinnati. He had 549. I think somewhere in that vicinity is where we see Tucker Kraft end up at. And you mentioned it, wide receivers banged up. They started splitting out Tucker Kraft a little bit more in the slot instead of putting him on the line of scrimmage. So I think he has a nice volume of targets here to go over this number.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you had props for this game because I didn't really have much for this game. I think Justin Jefferson may be in play here as well, obviously.
Yeah, he's super low,
TVDBJ pointing
man.
out,
Yeah,
Jaden Reed. It might be the Jaden Reed game just because, obviously, with all the injuries with the wide receivers for the Packers. So I think that number is pretty low here for Jaden Reed. All right, so that was the last of the games here on Sunday for the Week 17 card here, Lonte. Let's get our touchdown parlay going here. for the Sunday games, and then we'll put together our entry here for the underdog fantasy. Touchdowns. What do you got?
Let's lay 400 with Christian McCaffrey. No,
Yeah.
I'm just joking. Let's do. Who do I have? That's one of the ones. Jonathan Taylor, is he still at even money
Jonathan Taylor is at where
or
is
close to it?
Jonathan Taylor? It might be easier if I just search for it because it's Tyrod Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's minus 150.
Yeah, never mind. So let's go with Zero White for Raiders.
All right, plus 105. What else do we like?
I like what's that like? I'm trying to find us a tight end. What about Tucker Craft? He was got close last week.
Tucker Craft is at plus 275.
I like
Throw him
that.
in there. I'm going to go with my revenge angle with DeAndre Hopkins at plus
Oh yeah,
190.
I like that.
I think we got to pick somebody from the Niners. Obviously, not Christian McCaffrey because that just opens up
Right.
some value.
What
But
about
all
Kittle?
those Kittle's at plus 110.
Who's a
I
who's a
don't
long
hate
shot?
him.
Who's a long shot up there? Like I mean, longer than like closer to 2-1.
Brandon
Normally.
Ayuk, no, he's at plus 115.
Mm,
San Francisco defense plus 320.
I mean,
Elijah
I don't
Mitchell
hate it.
plus 360. Jordan
Mm,
Mason plus 425. Brock Purdy plus 425.
What
I'll
about your
go with Brand.
boy? What about your boys in Houston, Nico and Noah?
Mm, I don't like the value. It's plus
Oh,
140 for Nico.
oh hell no.
Noah
What is
Brown's
A
at
chain?
8 chan. He's probably at plus money. Sorry, at minus money. He's minus 105.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
What's
Oh, what
another?
about Swift? Swift.
Oh, yeah. Let's look at Swift.
I know we
He's
both like
even
him.
money.
I kind of wanted a little bit more than that, but I think he does find the end zone. It's hard to bet, anybody other than Jalen Hurts around that end zone, man, because they're not going to give anybody else the ball. DJ Chark, long shot.
DJ Chark plus 500. Let's throw him in there.
Let's do it.
All right, that gets us up to yeah, that one boosted our odds there. All right, so we're gonna go with Zamir White, Tucker Craft, DeAndre Hopkins, and DJ Chark. That's gonna get you a touchdown parlay of 133 to 1.
I like that.
All right, so there it is. Zamir White, Tucker Craft, DeAndre Hopkins, and DJ Chark, 133 to 1. All right, Lonzo, let's put together our underdog fantasy entry for this week. Again, we are looking for you. If you haven't already signed up with Underdog Fantasy, please do so by tonight. We're just gonna really help us grow the show. We're looking for more signups. We have the New Year's Eve party as well. It's all centered around Underdog Fantasy. So again, if you haven't already signed up with an account with Underdog Fantasy, just make sure you use that promo code SGPN, and we will hook you up with some merch if you do it by the end of today. Again, Underdog Fantasy using promo code SGPN. All right, Lante, where do you want to start here with our our entry? I think the first one we probably got to go. I think we both like was Brock Purdy.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so Brock Purdy's numbers at 266.5. We'll go higher on that. I really like the Swift one you mentioned. You want to go rushing yards or you want to go rushing attempts?
Let's go with yards because you never
All right.
know how they're going to split up that backfield. Boston Scott might get a carry too.
All right, so 71.5 is what I see right now for Swift. What else
That's
you like?
fine. I'm trying to find out what we both liked. I'll tell you the two that I like the most. I mean, you
Okay.
can tell me the two you like the most, and we can just go from there. I like Darren Waller higher than his receiving yards. That's one of my
40
favorite
and a half.
ones. Yeah, I like that higher. And
All
I'm
right.
also loving the Bijan over higher 23.5 receiving yards. Those are my two favorite that are left.
Bijan receiving 23.5. Where is it at? I like how his fantasy points are at 11.5 or 11.05 on underdog.
Right.
But um, yeah, I like both of them actually. We could throw both of them in there. All right, so we'll go with those four. Brock
So,
Purdy, higher, 266.5 passing yards. DeAndre Swift, 71.5 rushing yards higher. Darren Waller, higher than 40.5 receiving yards. And then Bijan Robinson, higher than 23.5 receiving yards. That $100 entry will get you a nice return of $1,000. Again, make sure to go to over underdog.com or underdogfantasy.com. Sorry, underdogfantasy.com. Make sure you use our promo code SGPN. If you already have an account with us or with Underdog, nudge your friends a little bit, maybe your coworkers, maybe grab your significant others phone there. Sign up account with or for them on Underdog Fantasy, but make sure you use that promo code SGPN. I think that's it, Lonta. Anything else that we missed here?
nah, man. Looking forward to the new year. Hope everybody is has a good betting day. And yeah, man, make sure if you don't look at some of these contracts and like the incentives in them, because that's a good way to bet props to see. It used to be money like back in the day, but the kind of the books have kind of caught on to it as well. But
Yeah.
it's still some value there because they will, like teams and quarterbacks or whatever, they will make sure that these guys get paid, especially the lower level guys who don't get paid as much money. So yeah, that's a good way to, if you want to just you could just easily Google the person contract stipulations or whatever. That's a good way to bet props going forward this week and especially next week. So yeah, man, good luck to everybody. Shop around. I hope everybody has a good new year.
Yeah, 100%, man. Again, be safe out there tonight on New Year's Eve. Make sure to tune in for the New Year's Eve party with Sean and Ryan. Maybe I'll be hopping on there. We'll see. It starts at 12:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We'll be doing playoff best ball drafts, looking for some more pick'em entries for the later games, and then they will also be doing some giveaways and things like that. And again, be signing up with Underdog Fantasy using promo code SGPN. All right, that is going to do it for this week 17 show. We'll be back next week for
Oh, Muna, before we
the
go, can you
yeah. Go ahead.
give I guess the link didn't send for this listener that's in the chat. Oh,
Yeah,
there
if
we
you
go.
want to go
Okay, cool.
back and watch, if you want to go back and watch the pregame show here, just Google or not Google, go to youtube.com/ NFL Gambling Podcast, or just search for NFL Gambling Podcast on the YouTube search bar there. You'll see the Week 17 pregame show. We went through every single game on the Sunday card, giving out our player props and stuff like that. So, yeah. And also make sure while you're in there, give us a thumbs up button on the live stream and also subscribe to the NFL Gambling Podcast if you can. All right, we'll be back next week for the last week of the regular season, at least with our pregame show. Till then, good luck with your bets. Enjoy your New Year's Eve. Let's break these books off and let it ride.